I would like to prepare and invite Her Excellency Valentina Superti, who is the Director in charge of Tourism at the DG GROW, responsible for internal market, industry, entrepreneurship and SMEs at the European Commission. Your Excellency, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Okay, so good afternoon, and you hear me, eh? Yes, I think the mics are working. So good afternoon to all of you, and well, I am not an excellency. I'm very honored to have heard that, but I think you are there are amongst of you honorable members of parliament, ministers, and many important participants. Thank you for inviting me today, and thank you for allowing me to say a few words on a topic which I think is very, very timely. Now, perhaps first of all, I should state from the outset, and this is in line also with what was said before, and this one in particular, we are the European Commission now giving a very close attention to what we consider, and we have considered in official documents, to be one of the major 14 industrial ecosystems for Europe, and this is the tourism ecosystem, and why I think we should not forget and actually always keep in mind of the major socio-economic importance of the tourism ecosystem for Europe. So it's no coincidence that we are trying to do as much as we can to foster its competitiveness and growth. Although, of course, we have in the Union, in the Commission, you know, we have limited competencies on the matter. So we have really to try to put all relevant actors around the table, which is what we are trying to do. Now, just a few words of optimism. To start with, I think you know that better than me, and possibly this was already said earlier today. The summer season has proved to be very positive, so we should be happy for that. In some places, it even went beyond the 2019 record level. For example, let's mention Greece. It's just an example. So that is all good. Of course, we have to be realistic, and we have to keep in mind that on the one hand, the consequences of the pandemic are not over yet, or at least we don't know, may not be completely over yet, and further instability has arrived with the situation. With the terrible situation in Ukraine. All this also means slower recovery than expected. And there are news, we all know that, unfortunately, about possible incoming recession, which may, of course, have an impact on travel intentions. And this is also the result of problems that affected Europe and other regions actually already this summer. So that we have already seen some signs like connectivity issues, price increases that's going on, unfortunately, staff shortages, indeed, and I quote this rather on the negative, the phenomenon of over-tourism, so which is coming back, and which may seem good, but perhaps not that good. So, what is our, way of, of approaching this whole ecosystem? We need to have and to display common efforts from both the public, but also the private sector, to work on all these problems So there are a number. And what is the objective is to restore our reputation as a high-quality destination, so high-quality destination. So when I refer to high quality, of course, I refer also to the famous keywords of a tourism that is also more resilient and sustainable. Of course, there is the sustainability thing. It's a main theme. We should not forget it. And that goes together, however, with the resilience. So resilience is about being prepared. We are living in period of crisis, from crisis to crisis. If we think back from 2010 until now, it's crisis after crisis. So perhaps the lesson is we have to be better prepared to face crisis in general. So when coming to tourism, what does that mean in concreto? It means, for example, to resume efforts on visa facilitation. So we are working for that. And visa exemptions when that is warranted, let's say. So that's one aspect. Facilitating visa. Another aspect is, of course, retrofitting of key travel infrastructures to make sure that they can work without disruptions. We have to, and let me mention that, for example, as concerns airports, we have been focusing a lot on contactless technology to allow, a fluid movement also during the pandemics. In the past, we have been trying to address security issues related to terroristic attacks, but in the end, it's always, about security. And we need to work even more on other forms of what I would qualify to be violence, like, for example, cyber attacks, or also, let's think of extreme weather conditions, which is something that was less of a problem some years ago. And when doing all that, I think what we should do collectively, we try to do that, is we have to keep in mind that many operators in the touristic sector are still small and medium-sized enterprises. So it's the very small companies, family businesses that need to have our help. So we are mentioning cyber attacks. By definition, beyond the question of the basic level of digitalization, there is an issue, there is a question of addressing cyber resilience. So, fit for purpose, however, fit for purpose travel infrastructures cannot make a difference without better international coordination when travel restrictions are introduced. So one thing is the infrastructure, of course, the other element is the coordination. So I want to remind ourselves here that we have a success story. Sometimes it's also good to remember what good has been done. So this is a success story, it's a global standard that we have introduced with the EU COVID digital infrastructure. The figures are quite impressive, and of course they are not known as they should be, I think, so because there are today 75 countries from across 5 continents that are connected to this infrastructure, and this makes of the system a global standard, so not to be forgotten, and something which can be still relevant in the future. However, resilience goes hand in hand with sustainability. We mentioned it. And let me perhaps focus on one element which we think, also based on the many discussions we are having, one element that is key to achieving more sustainability, and this is data. So we are working a lot on, for example, facilitating data sharing and smart use of data by destinations in order to have a better and eventually more sustainable approach to tourism. Several actions are underway, so I'm just mentioning this quickly. For example, we are now working, and it will be difficult, so we need help here, but we are engaged into thinking into a European data space for tourism, so a sort of mapping of data, which then could be used by the relevant many actors operating in the sector. And the second one I want to mention is the short-term rental. I think after me there are a number of very important people from a number of cities, and the phenomenon precisely of over-tourism, which is sometimes linked to the short-term rental. We will be tabling a proposal in October, that is our objective, in order to allow, in particular, public authorities to have more data at their disposal in order to better manage their tourism policies. And of course, all this would not be, would not have a lot of sense, meaning if we don't think of the people, because the people, of course, are always the most important component in things. So, of course, we have that in mind. We are working on Pact for Skills. You know that I will not go into detail, but beyond the staff shortages issue, there is also an issue of training and retraining people in view of the changing business models. So that is a huge, huge work. Now, from words to practice, because of course the risk is always to be very theoretical and just do nice words, we are trying to put things in practice. So we have, with tourism, we have experimented, literally, in the European Commission, a new methodology, meaning that we are trying to work together with all relevant stakeholders, including, of course, member states, including, of course, the parliament, but including, of course, many of the operators in the sector, with a view to try to see in practice what are projects that we think are worth to be supported and pushed through. And this exercise takes the name of Transition Pathway for Tourism. Now, for us, it's very well known. Perhaps it's less known for you, but this is for me the opportunity to mention it. It's an important exercise, and we are having, for the moment, 186 concrete pledges, so concrete projects, which are coming from 112 organizations. So I just, I stop here, but I wanted to mention it also because if you know, through your networks, through, all your contacts, stakeholders who would be interested in engaging with us, of course, on a more resilient and sustainable and digital tourism, we will be happy to work together with you and give all the support that we can give. So, and just last thing, under Czech presidency, you know that there are the rotating presidency in Europe with the Council. Under Czech presidency, we hope to finalize an agenda for tourism at European level, and we are trying to make it as concrete as possible, again, in order to have not just principles, but commitments from all the 27 member states on a common agenda for tourism. So let's keep fingers crossed. I keep fingers crossed. That is foreseen for mid-November, and I hope next time we will meet, I will be able to say we made it and we have the engagement of member states. So thank you very much. And whenever we are in touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you.